3 weeks ago, 238 Venezuelan migrants were flown from Texas to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. That country's president offered to take them, and the Trump administration used a law not invoked since World War II to send them, claiming they are all terrorists and violent gang members. The government has released very little information about the men, but through internal government documents, we've obtained a list of their identities and found that an overwhelming majority have no apparent criminal convictions or even criminal charges. They are now prisoners. Among them, a makeup artist, a soccer player, and a food delivery driver, being held in a place so harsh that El Salvador's justice minister once said the only way out is in a coffin.
The story will continue in a moment.
The shackled men were forced to lower their heads and bodies as they were unloaded from buses and taken to El Salvador's mega prison known as the Terrorism Confinement Center, or Sakot. Andre Hernandez Romero was among them.
Andre is a 31-year-old Venezuelan. He's a makeup artist. He is a gay man. He loves to do theater. He was part of a theater troupe in his hometown.
Lindsay Tozlowski, Andre's attorney, says he does not have a criminal record in the United States or Venezuela. She says he left his home country last year because he was targeted for being gay and for his political views. Last May, Andre made the long trek north through the Darien Gap to Mexico, where he eventually got an appointment to seek asylum in the United States. At a legal border crossing near San Diego, he was taken into custody while his case was processed. Did he have a strong asylum case?
We believe he did have a strong asylum case. He had also done a credible fear interview, which is the very first part of seeking asylum in the United States, and the government had found that his threats against him were credible and that he had a real probability of winning an asylum claim.
But last month, Andre did not appear for a court hearing.
Our client, who was in the middle of seeking asylum, just disappeared. One day he was there, and the next day we're supposed to have court, and he wasn't brought to court.
You used the word disappeared.
Yeah, I use that word because that's what happened.
But Andre did appear in photos taken by Time magazine photographer Philip Holsinger, who was there when the Venezuelans arrived at Sakot. Holsinger told us he heard a young man say, "I'm not a gang member, I'm gay, I'm a stylist." And then he cried for his mother as he was slapped and had his head shaved. By comparing Holsinger's photographs to photos of Andre's tattoos taken by the government, we were able to confirm that this is Andre. His lawyer, who was representing him pro bono, had never seen these photos before.
It's horrifying to see someone who we've met and know as a sweet, funny artist in the most horrible conditions I could imagine.
You fear for Andre's safety in there?
Absolutely. We have grave concerns about whether he can survive.
In October, Tom Homan, who is now the White House border czar, told 60 Minutes the Trump administration's mass deportation plan would start by removing the worst of the worst.
We're going to prioritize those with convictions. We're going to prioritize national security threats. We have to do that. You got to get the worst first.
But are they the worst? The Trump administration has yet to release the identities of the Venezuelan men it sent to El Salvador last month. We obtained internal government documents listing their names and any known criminal information. We cross-referenced that with domestic and international court filings, news reports, and arrest records whenever we could find them. At least 22% of the men on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad. The vast majority are for nonviolent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. About a dozen are accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. For 3% of those deported, it is unclear whether a criminal record exists. But we could not find criminal records for 75% of the Venezuelans, 179 men, now sitting in prison. In response to our findings, a Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman said many of those without criminal records, quote, are actually terrorists, human rights abusers, gangsters, and more. They just don't have a rap sheet in the U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan said immigration agents spent hours conducting rigorous checks on each of the men to confirm they are members of Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang President Trump campaigned on eradicating.
To expedite removals of the Tren de Aragua savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil.
But in Andri's case, the only evidence the government presented in immigration court were these pictures of his tattoos, crowns, which immigration authorities say can be a symbol of Tren de Aragua.
These are tattoos that not only have a plausible explanation because he is someone who worked in the beauty pageant industry, but also the crowns themselves were on top of the names of his parents. The most plausible explanation for that are that his mom and dad are his king and queen.
Could it be possible that there is something that perhaps the government knows that you don't?
I don't think that that is possible, but if it was possible that they had some information, they should follow the Constitution, present that information, give us the ability to reply to it.
A Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman said on social media that its intelligence assessments go well beyond just gang affiliate tattoos. She said Andri's own social media indicates he is a member of Tren de Aragua. We went back a decade and could only find photos like these. Tattoos and social media were also used to link another Venezuelan migrant, Jersey Reyes Barrios, to the Tren de Aragua gang. Immigration court documents include this Facebook post from 14 years ago, showing him flashing what officers said was a gang sign. His girlfriend told us it was all about rock and roll. Immigration agents also flagged Jersey's crown tattoo as a gang symbol, but they did not mention the crown is above a soccer ball. Jersey was a soccer player in Venezuela. His lawyer says the tattoo honors his favorite team, Real Madrid, whose logo includes a crown. Organized crime analysts told us members of the Salvadoran MS-13 gang can often be identified by signature tattoos, but Tren de Aragua is different. Are tattoos a reliable indicator of membership in Tren de Aragua?
No. Expert after expert tells us tattoos are not a reliable indicator of whether you're part of this particular gang.
Lee Gallant, an attorney for the American Civil Liberties Union, is leading the legal challenge against the Trump administration's efforts to send migrants to Sakot. There are a lot of people who might hear what you're saying and say, these people don't have papers, they should be deported. To that you say what?
If they are here illegally and don't have a right to stay, they can be deported back to their home country. If they've committed crimes, they can be prosecuted and perhaps spend many, many years in a U.S. prison. It's not a matter of can these individuals be punished. It's a matter of how the government is going to go about doing it. Once we start using wartime authority with no oversight, anything is possible. Anybody can be picked up.
Last month, President Trump did what he had promised on the campaign trail. He invoked a 1798 law called the Alien Enemies Act, which allows the president to remove non-citizens without immigration hearings during times of war or invasion.
Every administration back to 1798 has understood this is wartime authority to be used when the United States is at war with a foreign government. The administration is saying, not only are we going to use it against a criminal organization, but you, the courts, have no role. You cannot tell us that we're violating the law or stop us.
Does the U.S. even have the legal right to send someone who's been deported from its country to a foreign prison?
The United States does not have that right. You know, I want to go back to World War II, the last time that any president used this authority. We send people back to their home country. We didn't send them to a foreign prison. Even during World War II, Germans had the right to contest their designation under the Alien Enemies Act. As one of the judges pointed out in the appeals court, Nazis had more process than we're giving to these Venezuelan men.
Before the 3 planes arrived in El Salvador, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg ordered the Trump administration to turn them around. Flight tracking data shows 2 planes were in the air at the time, and one was about to take off from Texas. Instead of turning around, all the planes made a stop at a military base in Honduras. And then, despite Judge Boasberg's verbal and written orders, the planes all flew to El Salvador. Since then, the U.S. government has disclosed very few details about the operation. CBS News published the only list of all 238 deportees.
The government is refusing to answer almost every question from the court.
Based on what grounds?
Well, now they've invoked what's called the state secrets privilege. They are saying they can't even confirm details about the planes.
We asked a Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman what evidence the government has, besides tattoos and social media posts, linking people like Andre and Herce to Tren de Aragua. She cited state secrets and ongoing litigation as the reasons DHS cannot comment on these individual allegations. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who visited Sakot last month, declined our request for an interview. At the prison, she recorded this video. She was standing in front of a cell packed with Salvadoran gang members, not Venezuelans.
But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
The Trump administration is paying El Salvador President Nayib Bukele's government $6 million to house prisoners it sends to Sakot. Lawyers and family members of the Venezuelans told us they've had no contact with the men since they arrived. Do you have any idea how long he might be there?
We have no idea.
Alirio Antonio Fuenmayor's younger brother, Alirio Guillermo, was picked up by immigration agents while working as a food delivery driver in Utah. Though he had no criminal record, he was sent to El Salvador last month.
He is an innocent person. He has not committed any crime, and he's in a maximum security prison.
The ACLU's League Alert has spent decades challenging immigration policies of Democratic and Republican administrations. But on the fate of the Venezuelan men, what would you say to these families who are terrified right now about their relatives currently sitting in this prison in El Salvador? Will they ever see them again?
I hope so, but there's a real danger that they remain there.
You're saying that there are Venezuelans who very well may have no gang ties that are right now in one of the hardest of hardcore prisons in the world that may never get out. They may never see the light of day again.
That's what I'm saying.
What photographer Philip Holsinger saw in El Salvador.
I had this sort of sense of, I'm watching these guys disappear.
At 60minutesovertime.com, sponsored by Nurtec ODT.